This will only take a second.
And castrated Vito. And I think that was the first moment that you cheered.
I was like, I was like, good.
We're horrible people. Okay, so first off, we need to get one thing straight. There were supposed to be three of us.
Yeah, there's no,
but there's two,
and
right
now there is two.
There's
maybe,
two.
But maybe it's a good thing, because like I don't know where this is all going to lead.
Well, we're gonna find out.
All right.
So yeah, welcome to So Big Movies, So Bad It's Good Movies. My name is Len Archibald. I'm sitting here with my sister, Amy Archibald Varley, who has her own awesome podcast show, The Gritty Nurses. Free plug.
Thank you.
Yeah. But we're actually here to talk about So Bad It's Good movies. And
So bad.
and this is our first one, and we got a really good one to start out with.
Oh my god, what did you make me watch?
Look, man, I said we were gonna watch something brilliant, and I think we watched something life-changing.
Okay, if those are the words that you would like to describe this movie, you know what? Maybe life-changing in the from being on Twitter earlier today to seeing the CPC leader accidentally say the hard N-E word to this film that we just watched today. Like, I don't know, has much changed in terms of the times? Like,
well, I don't know.
It's a sign of the times.
Well, the movie that we're going to talk about that we watched just up until a few minutes ago is the 1975 Blaxploitation flick.
I'm so really
The Black Gestapo.
1975, the People's Army of Watts was organized to rid the community of drugs, prostitution, and crime. The project was a total wipeout.
The Black Gestapo. And when you hear a title like that, you're just like, what is the Black Gestapo?
The Black Gestapo. Victory through violence and vengeance for the new master race.
Yeah, this is what you get.
Yeah, well, in theory, before I knew anything, before I saw it, I was like, okay, like it's gonna be a movie about like black police. But then it wasn't. I think for the first like 5 minutes in, I was like, what is this movie actually about?
Yeah, so I got an IMDb plot outline. General Ahmed has started an inner city people's army to try and relieve the misery of the citizens of Watts. When the locals are put under increasing pressure by mafia thugs, Ahmed's second in command, Colonel Koja, asks for permission to start a protection squad to take more direct action. Ahmed fears this protection squad will just turn into a vigilante mob, and his prediction soon proves correct. Will Ahmed be able to wrest control back from the power-mad Koja, or will he be the mob's next victim? I mean,
okay, it's a good description
that
of
sounds pretty much
what
like
happened.
what happened. I mean, for the most part, I mean,
There's a couple holes there.
There are some things there are some details that are missing.
Yeah,
but yeah, this was a 90-minute movie. Wasn't very long. This was directed by Lee Frost.
Yeah, I had to ask you what, like midway, what the person's skin color looked like. I was just a little curious.
And Lee Frost looks like a typical person that would probably direct a movie like this. He also had two other co-writers with this. Lee Frost, by the way, has actually directed a few other notable movies here. He also directed The Thing with Two Heads.
Okay.
No, seriously, that was actually
notable or notorious.
Maybe both.
Okay.
But yeah, he directed Chain Gang Women.
Okay.
Dixie Dynamite and Sweet Captain.
Sweet Captive.
Sweet.
I'm
Captive.
sure these all had very similar themes to the Black Gestapo.
Except there's probably no black people in any of those movies.
I'd have to see them.
We have to
Actually, I
see-
don't know if I want to see them.
He
I don't
also,
know.
something that is notable, he also is the main villain in this film, Vince, who we'll get to.
Now that's a real fucking shame, isn't it?
Right off the bat. So the movie starts really abruptly, so abruptly, in fact, that we actually had to go through a few YouTube videos just to make sure that we found the right one.
I was like, is this how it starts?
And
It's like a
It's just really
Starts-
abrupt with two mob guys going into someone's apartment. And one thing, there's actually two things we need to really note here. One, everyone's door is unlocked in this movie.
yeah. Nobody wears
And
boxer
and no
doors.
one, everyone just walks in.
Hey, man.
And two, there is no police in Watts apparently in 1975.
Nope, and it takes place in California, so like that's a whole other thing. Just no police.
And then
just
in Watts, this is
running
Watts.
wild.
Watts, there was the Watts riots and everything like that. So you would think of any place there would be police presence there, but no. But we get the mob people coming in. They are harassing black people, black businesses, shaking them down for money. They're really cruel. One guy, the first guy they went to, they took his TV.
yeah.
And
He's
just-
like, yo, man.
God damn.
Oh damn!
God damn.
It was a great reaction. I mean, one of the things the cast is memorable in terms of like giving you like good reactions.
Yes,
and,
I'll say that.
and someone, and we'll get to that, has probably one of the greatest movie lines ever. But anyways, yeah. So the mob they're bad people, and the movie actually really does a good job of making you really hate this mob
Yeah.
because they are horrible people.
They're racist.
Oh my god, they're horribly racist.
They're racist.
But we were introduced to the People's Army,
Yep.
who is led by General Ahmed, and he is played by Rod Perry, and Rod Perry was in a ton of stuff. SWAT, Barney Miller. He was even a security guard in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which is a Star Trek reference for your husband, who's a big Star Trek man.
Who's sleeping right now?
Who's sleeping right now. And his second in command, Colonel Koja, is played by Charles Robinson, who, if you guys know, Night Court. He's Mac, in Night Court. So, actually there's a couple big name people that are in this, but we're introduced to them, and then we get the credits.
Yes. And that's where I was like, this is taking a turn. I was just like, what is happening?
So,
Took
yeah,
several turns.
the credits, we suddenly get into 1930s Germany, and goose stepping, and Hitler, and the movie freezes on Hitler's face, and we get the Black Gestapo. And funky Jace music on top of Hitler's face.
Oh my god, I was just like, this couldn't be played at all during this time. Like, it was so cringeworthy, but we had to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, you do keep going. I mean, one thing I'll say, this movie was never boring. It was whether it was gratuitous or racist or just wholly offensive,
Yeah,
I was never bored.
I think I did a couple of these. Like several times. Like, how many times I just looked at you like, it was like,
Yeah, there's a few
a lot of
moments
those
of
moments.
that.
Yeah.
The one thing too, when we're talking about the funky score, Alan Arper, I want to make sure that I give credit. He did conduct the score, and it's decent for what it is. I mean, it's not the greatest Blaxploitation score out there, but serviceable. And one of the things too, we're watching this, and because the audio for the film actually isn't that great, we actually got the captions.
Yeah, because there's the beginning scenes. I'm like, I have no idea what some of these people are saying, and then captions went up. And that was very helpful. And I think it was kind of almost needed. It.
What was great though with having the captions was we were always given. We were always told when funky music was coming. We're coming in a paracynical. Funky music. It was always great when that would happen.
Yeah.
But anyways, the mob shaking down everyone in Watts, and the People's Army comes to help out.
Right.
And you would think that, hey, People's Army is there. There's 3 of them, and there were 2 mob guys.
Right.
But they suck ass.
Yeah, they got their ass.
They got their ass handed to them.
It was so pathetic. I was like, is this real life? And the guy was getting beat up. He was just like this.
And the fight choreography is not great. I mean, you just get that right off the bat. I mean, it just looks like people play fighting in the grass.
I didn't know if I would even say that. I was just like, you know that scene from Fresh Prince where Will gets thrown out, but it's like a doll? It just looks like, it was awful.
Yeah,
like,
it is. But yeah, the movie really does everything in its power to make us really, really hate this mob.
Right.
They go into a prostitute, and this is where, okay, this movie has really disturbing scenes, and a lot of them is really based in misogyny.
Yeah.
The tits all over the place.
Yeah.
I think there wasn't one woman in this movie that didn't have their tits out.
No, it was quite ridiculous. And again, I'm a nurse, and I was mortally offended by how
there was a nurse.
Yeah, about how this nurse was portrayed as the sexy nurse. And I can tell you, if there's anything about nursing is not sexy. Like, we are just not a sexy profession. And again, yeah, like you said, steeped in misogyny, and every single scene, a woman had their breasts out. Even when they were sleeping, their breasts were out.
The best one though was when Koja is in bed with his girl. His girl is white, which I think they're trying to make some sort of statement with that.
It's bizarre.
And he tells her to cover up.
Oh my god.
Cover yourself.
And then she's like, both breasts out, and the blanket in between her breasts. I was just like,
maybe we should talk alone.
I just think they were just like, make sure you get as much tits in this movie as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they go to one particular prostitute, one white prostitute, and they beat the shit out of her.
Yeah, she gets beat quite a few times. Yeah.
Really to the point
it
of
almost seemed like they
unnecessary.
actually hit her. I was like, I wonder what's like banging her head up against the wall. I was kind of like,
they banged her head against the wall like 20 times. That was actually, because I remember we were watching that. Everyone was kind of quiet. It was like,
yeah,
this is kind of dark.
Yeah, I mean, I think even before the prostitute came in, I kind of want to back it up there. The nurse scene for me was quite disturbing, where she was, she had just left work, and then she was accosted by the 2 thugs that we were talking about in the beginning of the movie. Vito, the director.
I think it's Vito and Ernie.
Or whatever. Yeah. And they're harassing her. She's just leaving work. She's dressed like a nurse.
She's trying to be dignified.
And they're just like,
$5 for a blowjob. Okay. But $10 is top for a head.
They like rub up against her, and then they beat her up. And I was just like, this is disgusting.
Did they beat her up at that point, or was that?
Yeah, they like shoved her down to the ground, and that's when the Gestapo guys,
right.
and then they all got beaten up, and I was like, no justice. Right. That's exactly, I was like, there's no justice here.
You're exactly right.
So it was just like, I don't know. I found that the violence towards women were way over the top.
It was,
and I don't understand the message that they're trying to send. Like, I understand they're like, oh, you know, we're hard, we're gangsters and stuff, but again, it was just unnecessary for me. And I just felt, again, as someone who advocates for women's rights and women's supports, that if I was to give this rating, this movie a rating in terms of how they were doing for their content and related to like women's perceptions, women abuse, like women played a zero role. We had no agency. Yeah, I said to you, I was like, they might as well just put a blow-up doll there, and that would have just been a better part than actually having women in this movie. So I was really disappointed about how women were being portrayed.
Yeah, and you know, this is Blaxploitation, which is exploitation, and you know, in the 70s, that was the sensibility. Not that it was right, but that was definitely the sensibility, especially with those types of movies. Back then, they were trying to like, well, we want to get the audience in, and tits and violence, that's what's going to get them in. Yeah. And you know, spend as little money as possible. And you know, this, I don't even know what studio even released this. Normally with like Blaxploitation and things, it's normally like American International Pictures or something like that. That's like the movie studio that released like Foxy Brown and things like that. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't even know what studio, but we were able to find the movie on YouTube, so clearly no one wants part of this movie.
No, they're all like, fuck this. We don't want any say in all of this movie.
Back to Marsha, the nurse.
Yeah.
So yeah, they harass her one time. And then the goons, Vin, Vito, and Ernie, are told that to lean more heavily on some of the other businesses.
Right.
They decide to go to a club. To find a pimp, the same pimp that
Ernie, the pimp of the white girl.
Yeah,
Willie,
and he's not there.
Yeah.
But the nurse is there. Marsha is there, and they decide that they're going to harass her again.
It's more than harassment, but
yeah. So then they go in and they kidnap her basically. Yep. And it's such a weird scene. Because it's like the
kidnapper.
I don't even know if that was General Ahmed that was there, or what random guy was there that they beat up too. But they beat up some random guy, some rando. Take her to their car. She tries to cuss them out. She's like, "Oh, is this how you get off or whatever?"
Go ahead and rape me, you honky bastard. This is really your style, isn't it? I bet this is about the only way you can get laid.
Trying to show that she has some form of agency, I suppose, but tits out, and then they rape her.
Yeah, which was awful.
Yeah. But then the next scene is Koja talking to her.
All I want to know is who.
Does it make any difference?
Vito. And I remember though when that happened, you kind of like was like, okay, are we gonna get something?
Because I kind of was like, okay, so you know, she gotten harassed twice, sexually abused, now raped. I'm like, I see some justice.
Well, I think we were starting to see, because you know, she says, like, he was like, who did it? And she was like, it was Vito, the big one.
Oh my god, I know it's coming. Yeah.
And Koja is amazing in this movie, by the way. Has some of the best lines. He says,
"That's the way I like 'em. Big."
And I was like, is this movie gonna change again? I was getting really worried.
So Koja gets people that he chooses from his army to infiltrate Vito's home.
Right.
And there's like 5 of them that's in this cramped bathroom.
Whoa. They were on the roof, and then like a little ladder came down, and he like cracked open the window, which I don't know how he did it. He was like, poof, and the window like pops open.
Well, nothing is locked in this universe.
Yeah. And then, you know, 1, 2, 3, and then he's like having a bath, and like you said, there's like 5 guys
just rolled up on him.
I remember being like, is like the main leader gonna go in the bathtub? And yes, he went into the bathtub
and pulled out a razor.
This will only take a second.
And castrated Vito. And I think that was the first moment that you cheered.
I was like, ha, ha, ha. I was like, good.
We're horrible people. Vigilante
No,
justice.
like, I mean,
no.
it was
in the context
all the
of the movie.
scenes,
He
the
deserved
context,
it.
it was horrible.
In the
It was such
context
a
of the movie,
horrible thing, right?
it was a satisfying kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what was crazier though was they castrated him in warm water.
Yeah.
So
in my mind, I'm
he's-
like, he's going
So
to
he's
die.
gonna bleed out. He should die, but he survived. They gave him Koja gave him awards like
Instead, the next time you or your punks touch a black woman again, I will personally flush the rest of you down this same toilet. Lieutenant Coleman, call an ambulance.
At least he told one of his like Gestapo people to call an ambulance. So I was like, this dude in the water can't call
but you
an
know,
ambulance.
there's just no. I mean, do you think there's ambulance and fire departments in Watts at this time? I mean, there's no police.
I mean, it was a lawless city. So and we've seen in further scenes that like the care that was given was like by that one nurse. Like there was like one nurse
in the entire town. And she's the one who's like sexually assaulted the most. So you just wondered, like, wow. We get kind of a glimpse of the main conflict between Koja and Ahmed because of the castration. And Koja's like,
A security force. 20 men. I'll train them myself. Now, if we can't stop the gangsters from working here, we can at least protect our people from their brutality.
Now, I know you, Koja. You'd have this whole town into a furnace. Controlling the syndicate is a job of the LAPD.
And where were the cops when the sister was assaulted and the young brother almost beaten to death?
Now, you can't take the law into your own hands.
Your woman. Marsha was once your woman. Doesn't that make a difference to you?
And he's like, are you not going to stand up for your woman?
yeah, are you? Yeah.
She was once your woman.
Yeah,
And it was just like,
at that moment, Ahmed, he looked like a bitch at that moment because I was on Koja's side. I was like, no, you guys are bitches. You guys need to do something about it. Your girl got raped.
Yeah.
You need to step up, dude.
And you got something against taking care of your people.
Six men. You can have 6 men. The mission will be only to protect. They must never attack. Now you give me your word on that, Colonel?
You have it.
There was a little bit of a twist where that I remember not seeing coming. They got their 6 good men,
right.
and they started shaking down the mob, but then they got to a barber shop.
Yeah.
And there was like an ambush and they killed like 3 of them or
Right.
something like that.
Yeah.
And so it looked like that the mob had the upper hand again.
I'll chop 10 of yours down for every one of mine. Spread the word.
Until I think it was Ernie. He's driving.
Scene.
And he's distracted.
Out of there! I can't hear you!
By tits.
By tits.
2 white women in like a vehicle rolled it up beside them, like, hey! And he's like, oh yeah. And they're like, "Ee." I'm like, okay. I just knew that was their role. Like I knew they didn't have any speaking lines. I know there was gonna be no value or importance, but their tits caused him to get into an accident.
I would cause him. Well, they run him off the road. And this car rolls for I think 30 seconds.
It rolls for a while.
It
Like, there's
rolls
no-
for a long time.
Essentially, what you're saying is there's no chance of survival.
It was. So this car is on the bottom of like a ditch basically, and Ernie is like, I mean, he still has his sunglasses.
Yeah,
Completely
well,
intact.
he pulls them out intact and puts them on his face, and I'm just like, there's no way. Like there is, he would be dead. And at one point, while the car was like rolling down the hill, I was sure I saw a body fly out, but maybe it was just like a part of the car or something. But it was just like the fact that when it landed, he was still alive. It was beyond.
It wasn't even just that. So he's in the car. He's trapped in the car because the rest of the People Liberation or the People's Army is there, and they're like shooting at him.
Who the hell's out there?
And he has bags of money because they went to shake down more of the city.
Throw out the money and I won't shoot your white ass off. You got it. It's a deal.
And he throws bags of money out.
Yeah.
Which for someone who just went through an amazing car crash has an amazing throwing arm.
Not only does he have an amazing throwing arm, with the car toppling 30 times, he was able to still find the 3 bags of money to throw out to the people. Yeah, I got the money.
So he says, throw the money out, and I won't shoot you. So he does that.
It's like I won't put a cap in your ass or something like that.
And Koja gets a Molotov cocktail.
Yeah,
and throws it on chucks it on the car. So the car goes on flames, and the guy's like,
We made a deal. The deal was I wouldn't shoot your white ass off.
It was so wrong.
and then the car explodes.
But no, he had a line before that. He's like,
Damn it! Stop it! This fucking thing's gonna...
what?
Perfect timing.
It was like right out of a Michael Bay.
And then at that moment, we get probably the best line in the movie, and probably one of the best lines in any movie.
Oh no.
Koja has his AK or whatever. He's like,
Okay, Hockey. You can come out now.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
I was just like, you can't make this movie today.
It was just wild. No.
You can't make this movie today. It's insane. Now, so the People's Army starts to get a little bit more power. They get some more recruits. My favorite character in the movie actually pops up during this time when the mob goes to the one shop owner, and he tells them every way that he doesn't have money.
I'm saying that I'm tapped, broke, short of funds, hard up, impoverished, stripped, beat. Besides, I don't have $6.50 to spare for shit like you.
And they're like, what are you talking about? But then Koja and the rest of the army comes out, and one of the mob guys shoots one of the People's Army's guys.
Right.
And this is where things really start to turn.
Yeah.
Because Koja pulls out a gun and says,
We got a new deal now. You shoot one of my soldiers, and I shoot one of your guerrillas.
Shot him right in the stomach.
and got up really well.
From now on, we'll be taking the gambling money. You don't have to worry about them anymore. Everything gonna be just fine.
At the same time, while all this is going on, our dear leader, General Ahmed, is completely oblivious somehow. This is his People's Army. He's the leader.
He's like living it up.
And then it's just
things have changed.
The People's Army eventually takes over the mob, and we see Vince, the director. He wears this toupee, but he wears it like on the front of his head.
Yes,
it's really
he
weird.
Like peels it off, and his airline starts like back
His
here.
like all the way
I'm like,
back
I don't
here.
know what the point of this is, but okay.
But yeah, I don't even know what, but he's like really frustrated, he's sweaty. I mean, he was a pretty decent supervillain. He has like his dog. He's
Yes.
like petting like his Dr. Claw or whatever.
I just don't want you to feel that I don't like you.
Yeah, Vince?
It's just that I think you're the dumbest fuck in the world.
Thanks, Vince.
You're welcome, Joe. Maybe I could still get Harlem.
Yeah, he's just like, nope, they've taken over.
He's like, they've taken over. We're done. We got to get out of here. What happens at this point? Koja changes his name to Kingazi, which means leader in Swahili. So the People's Army begins to take a much more militant stance.
Right.
They also decide that they want to change their look. They want to become a symbol of strength and unity. And
unity.
Koja takes his inspirations from a very strange place, Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
We get to a particular moment where everyone are dressed like SS officers, and this is where it's just like, and they start doing Sieg Heils with black power fists.
My warriors, you have done well. They will feel our vengeance! 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 Vengeance!
This movie took a radical turn, and I was just like, that's what the juxtaposition is. I'm like, this is not made for black people. This is not like
and things escalate really quickly.
Yeah.
Because once they take over, General Ahmed is told by I don't know if it's Marshall. No, it's the doctor that's at the clinic. I think calls him.
Yeah.
And says that the clinic was bombed.
I think he calls the nurse, right?
Well, did he call? Yeah.
He calls the nurse. Yeah. After some weird lovemaking scene between the leader is like, he's like I'm gonna take tonight's the night.
Tonight's the night.
And get like the zoom.
It was. It was just another point where I was like, they're just like, we haven't had tits in a couple minutes. Let's put it back into the film. And again, just this odd love scene.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even call it that. It was just like, tonight's the night.
It was
and
very,
I was like,
it was very
they just threw it in there because they're like, hold on, it's been 5 minutes. We need some more tits. In comes the gratuitous, ridiculous sex scene.
You're right. So that happens. Then they're told that a bomb was hit by on the community clinic, and then we're told just by general exposition that the city is now worse off.
Right.
Oh, get out of my house, General.
Must have been snoring too loud, huh?
You stopped being funny on the day you started dealing dope.
What the hell are you talking about?
They bombed our clinic.
I swear to God, woman, I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you?
More drugs, more
There's
violence,
more drugs, more
crime,
prostitution, and everything.
Yep.
Because
more dope.
The new SS Black Gestapo army have taken over the numbers game, prostitution, gambling, all that stuff, and they go to my favorite character's shop and they kick his ass.
Yep.
And it's just like, you can see that they've completely taken over.
Yeah.
Which, it was a different turn that the movie did take. I don't know. I think they're trying to make a statement about power corrupting, an absolute.
Yeah, let's
power.
pull up that director's face again. That might solve the reason of why this movie took the turn it did. But anyways,
one of my favorite scenes, and it was just such a random moment when all of this stuff starts to really escalate. General Ahmed is suddenly mobbed by reporters.
General Ahmed, would you care to comment, please, on reports that your People's Army is involved in a blood war in Watts?
It was just like I think we've asked so many times, like, where's the police in this movie? And the reporters are the ones like reporting on all the violence that was happening. It's like, what is your next move? And we're like, what is happening?
Yeah, and he's trying his best to be diplomatic, but at the same time, yeah, it's like you would think the police would be questioning him first before the media, and yeah, there's just no police.
No,
I think the closest thing that we get to any type of, you know, anything towards the police is the Black Gestapo eats a whole hog, and they said, we got a whole pig here.
All right. Here's a piece of pig for everybody.
They're like, ha ha ha.
That's the closest thing that they talk about with police.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, it was again another bizarre aspect of the movie. So
and the other thing too, back to the music, which is hilarious.
Oh, the music changed. Yeah.
The music changed when the Black Gestapo takes so the mob leaves. And they leave the Vince's mansion, and the Black Gestapo just happens to just take it over. No one says anything because we are literally in the Wild West. No one is saying, hey, that's not your house. But they decide to turn it to a base of operations. They train their soldiers there, but they also use like the pool.
It's a whorehouse.
It's a whorehouse.
And where the prostitutes come around with their tits out.
What's great though is every scene in that park, they have country club music playing.
Yeah.
I want our men treated well, Major. Officers and enlisted men alike. From now on, give each shop a minimum. If they don't sell enough, they'll just have to make up the difference themselves. Right.
If this was supposed to be a black empowerment movie, and again, this is where I say, like, pull up the picture of the director. The women now that were desirable were all white women. So I'm like, we know who this movie is geared for.
Yeah, and we get a moment with Ahmed and Koja, and I think Koja's basically threatening Ahmed, say, stay out of my way.
Let me hear it from your lips. Have you been running dope and prostitution in our city? For your new name, you should have chosen Nayoka, Snake.
All right. Now you listen to me. I don't want to waste you only because I feel sorry for you.
He was like, oh, I'll give you money to feed the poor and whatnot. And Ahmed's like, no, I don't want your money.
Now you keep your money. I don't deal in dirty money. I'll find another way to feed the poor.
So we're kind of already seeing the cracks have already shown, and we're going to see like the big conflict that's coming up.
Stay out of our way, Ahmed.
Koja's second in command, I think it's Delme. He's instructed to waste Ahmed.
Right.
And they do get the drop on him. They catch him in his bedroom, but they don't kill him in his bedroom. They decide to take him out to a field.
Right.
And they're like, do you want it in the front or the back? And Ahmed just runs away. He just runs. And I'm like, okay, you go, dude. He gets shot.
He does.
But
these people like miraculously just don't die.
He gets shot. He falls down a cliff, and they're like, "Well, if the shot didn't get him, but the fall certainly did." They just leave. And I guess he's found by a couple of his own old school People's Army, and they bring him to Martha, who obviously
the only nurse in town.
The only nurse in town. Who
she stitches him back.
Yeah, she stitches him
back to life. Not with her vagina this time, though.
Yeah,
her mad nursing skills.
Yeah,
and being sarcastic because I was just like,
we then we get the Black Gestapo going back to that first white prostitute that got her ass kicked.
Right.
And we're now at this point we're supposed to be seeing the parallels between them and the mob. They're just as bad. They're saying, hey, give us our money, and instead of threatening to beat her up or whatever, I think they like basically gang rape her for heroin.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, you know, well, there's 5 of us here, and she's like, okay, and she just like, closes her eyes again,
and it's like, what?
Yeah, and it was just weird again. Another like 5 minutes went by, and they're like, we need more tits.
We need more tits.
It was just not necessary. That scene actually made no sense. There was no real relevance to the scene because like, so the other crime people who had beat her up initially,
at this point
didn't make any sense.
At this point, they've already proven the point that the Black Gestapo was worse than them all. So that,
but it was just like they were just trying to like, it just didn't make any sense.
At this point, they were just trying to shock.
If he had a customer here, I'd do it. I just don't know where he is.
Well, now, I got 5 of my good men here. They've been working real hard. They could use a little relaxation.
They're just showing how bad black people were.
Ahmed heals up.
Right.
And decides that he's going to go covert.
Right.
And infiltrate the Black Gestapo. He dresses himself in all black. Suddenly he's like commando from like 1980. He's like Arnold Schwarzenegger now.
Yeah, he's all trained up.
He has like, you know, rope and everything. He scales over the walls of the mansion where the Black Gestapo are. He beats up a couple of them.
He rolls under barbed wire with like this big duffel bag.
Yeah, and he pretends to be a drill sergeant.
Yep, makes them run.
Gets a bunch of like new recruits. That's the other thing. These guys are getting new recruits.
Oh yeah, he's like, we're gonna.
There's no police. There's no police in Watts, but there are dozens of Black Gestapo.
Right.
It seems like daily there are like 20 or 30 new Black Gestapo being added. I don't know where they're supposed to be going or what they're supposed to be doing or their role in anything, but they're just adding numbers.
Right.
So General Ahmed gets like this new wave of recruits to go on an endurance trial or endurance test or whatever to get them away.
Yeah.
It is at this point that we will separate the men from the boys. This will be an endurance run. You will continue driving yourselves until you can go no further.
So the parallel, if you haven't been able to figure it out yet, General Ahmed is supposed to be the Martin Luther King of the story.
Right.
While Koja is more the Malcolm X.
Well, the Hitler, you mean? When it begins.
But yeah, he turns into Hitler.
Black Hitler. Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, we do have Kanye West. So
okay. Okay.
So yeah. But when this ends, our Martin Luther King of the story, like I said, turns into Commando.
Yeah.
And just starts mowing down Black Gestapo.
What the hell was that? What the fuck's happening?
He must killed like 20.
Yeah, it was
in a
wild.
span of like 5 minutes. Then he ends up with Koja at the end. They get their big confrontation.
Yep.
And he gets Koja to drop his rifle in the pool.
Yeah. Hold on. We have to just before we get to that, one really crazy scene was he was like accosted by 2 of the like evil Gestapo people, and he's like, "What am I supposed to do?" And he does this weird like leg thing. He's like, "Oh."
Better move your ass, soldier.
The fight choreography was, but that mule kick was.
I was just like, what? That wouldn't even work on anybody. But anyways, it worked on these guys, and then he was off to the big boss. Yeah.
Yeah, he thinks he has the drop on Koja, but Koja's second in command tackles him down. They have like a really bad rolling fight.
Yeah.
Koja brings out his blade that he used to castrate Vito. And somehow he trips or he's thrown over.
Well, some other guy comes up behind and he's like struggling.
That's the second
and he like throws him over.
And somehow he slashes his throat.
He slashes his own guy's throat. It's like,
sure,
it's
just
like
go with it.
it was like a red pencil line. I was like, oh,
yeah, no blood. Yeah,
okay,
there's
but
no
this is
blood.
crazy because there was like so much blood for other things, and there was like this red pencil line. I was like,
I think
okay, I think that's a major
by that
like
point,
artery.
I think by that point they probably just like ran out of budget.
Yeah, they're like, oh man, no more tomato paste.
Right. So okay, so then they have Ahmed and Koja have this really long, really boring, to be perfectly honest, final fight in the pool, and then we hear a gunshot go off. And then you see Koja float up, clearly shot.
Yeah, like I don't really know how. Like I was just like, okay, I guess.
I'm assuming it was it was the rifle because Ahmed he actually comes back out from holding the rifle. But the question that I have. Would that rifle have worked in the water?
I don't think so. I'm not a gun expert, but I don't think so. Again, they were out of budget because when you were shot in the water, there needs some blood. He floats up and it's just the water. I was like, and his eyes are open.
And then at that moment we go to black and white. End scene.
And I was like, this movie was not made for black people. Like it just wasn't. Like the whole premise behind the movie itself, the story that was told was not for black people. It was definitely made for white people at that time. It was just so much violence, like the black on black crime that all of a sudden started. I was just like, this is not.
I think this was supposed to be a movie about black empowerment.
No, that I did not get that message.
But no. I'm saying that
You mean the director?
The director was probably thinking this is going to be a movie about black empowerment, and and I guess he was maybe thinking that maybe he thinks Malcolm X is right. Maybe that's his thing.
I think you're giving him way too much credit. I think this guy was like a racist, and he's just like, how can I make the black community at this period of time? What time was the
1975?
1975. How can I make black people look even worse than they already do at this particular time, right? And it's like, oh, I'm gonna just make them overthrow these white people, make them even worse than the white people, then make them kill each other. Entertainment for racist white folks.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you on that at all.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like the black people were like, when the movie ended, the way we're like, oh, wait, was I not supposed to clap? No, you weren't. That was not really the right movie.
But yeah, so the Black Gestapo. I don't think open to fanfare, critical acclaim. I don't know, but they obviously didn't seem like they had a big budget. And I'm not sure if it really made their money back.
Good,
but clearly
good.
Has a really weird following when it comes to again movies that are just so bonkers.
Right.
It's out there, but clearly this is not a good movie. But again, I was never bored. I was never bored.
I will say that I wasn't bored. I was shocked often. Like I said, there's many of these.
I did say that this movie would be life-changing.
So like I said, I wasn't bored. I was shocked a lot of the times. Again, maybe for you it has rewatchability value. It definitely does not have rewatchability value for me.
I'm not gonna say that I recall The Black Gestapo a rewatchable movie. It's definitely a memorable one. I think once you
I'm gonna probably remember a lot of those things.
Yeah.
They're seared into my mind now.
I mean, you're not gonna forget seeing dozens of African Americans dressed in SS, gear, doing Black Power fists while you hear "Sieg Heil" in the background.
Yeah, we got a lot of problems with anti-Semitism, and it's just no. It's just
This
I
is
know.
just a crazy movie. So, any final thoughts about the Black Gestapo?
Like I said, this movie was not made for Black people. I think that's what all I can really say. There was a lot of racist undertones. No, they weren't undertones. There was just a lot of racism, a lot of sexism, a lot of misogyny, almost maybe I wouldn't, yeah, a lot of misogyny. As I guess I would say, as a feminist watching this movie, I was disgusted.
So now you need to wash the taste of all of this out of your mouth. You need to watch Barbie.
Yes, I haven't seen Barbie, so maybe that is the next review or the next thing that I need to see, because like I just feel so abused watching, like, from all of that. I just feel like I need to go upstairs. But
you know, at least if anyone was going to talk about a movie like The Black Gestapo, at least, you know, it's people of color that can take a look at this and step back, look at it objectively. I'm a movie guy, so I'm gonna look at it from a filmmaking standpoint and say, well, this movie is well made or not. Obviously, it was not. But yeah, this movie was fascinating, disturbing, strange, ugly, horrendously offensive in dozens of ways. And yet I could not turn away from it. It's the definition of a car crash movie.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just one of those, it's just one of those movies that you just can't believe someone actually thought this was a good idea. But
we know who that someone is.
It's not even just that. It's just I think this is a good idea for a movie, and they got financing for it.
Again, 1975. Let's throw up the director's photo. This movie was not made for Black people. Like, it's just, I'm glad that we have the opportunity to have the conversation about this movie. And maybe, we have some scholars that can kind of deconstruct it better than I can. Because like I said, I just feel like this movie was not made for Black folks. I just feel like the deeper message was just like, again, xenophobia and just making Black people seem like really awful people. Like, they are the root of all of the problems that they already face in these inner cities and things. So I just found that for a movie of that period of time, it's a reflection of a racist white man's idea of Black people and the Black community.
It's definitely, you juxtapose it to some of the other Blaxploitation movies that were made that were more socially conscious.
Yeah. There weren't any positive images of Black people. Every person that I think they tried to make the nurse.
The only positive image was, I think, the closest would have been General Ahmed before he went crazy. Because he was then like a vigilante too, right? He was taking matters into his own hands. When it ended, but I'm saying when it started, he was the closest to a positive portrayal, because he was trying to feed the community. He was trying to do right, and that's why Gojo was like, "You're weak, you're weak, you're weak." And
yeah, okay, fine, I'll give you that, but I mean, the rest.
And I'm not going to disagree with you on
the
that.
The rest. I've got to watch Barbie. And do you Black think, empowerment films, because I just feel leached of all joy.
Man, I kind of wish Jordan was here now.